Hi everyone and welcome to our weekly Sermonette. Today is Erev Shabbat of the Shabbat between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And this Shabbat is known as Shabbos Shuvah or Shabbos Teshuvah. Simply, we are in the middle of the 10 days of Teshuvah, which start with Rosh Hashanah and end on Yom Kippur, which is coming up in a few days. But there's another reason is also because the Haftorah read this week starts off Shuva Yisrael, Return, O Israel. Obviously, the theme of the season. It is always read on the Shabbos between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And this is a Shabbos of return, a Shabbos of connection, as we are in the high holiday season zone mode that we find ourselves. So there's no coincidences, and therefore the Torah portion that we read is also connected with the season. The Torah portion that we read this week is the Torah portion of Ha'azinu. It is the second to the last Torah portion of the 5 books of Moses. We're coming on Simchas Torah. We will conclude it with a great celebration. But this week's Torah portion, it's actually a song. It's written very differently. It's 2 columns, and the words jump from one column to the other. As all songs in the Torah, the Song at the Sea is also written that way, and others. And basically it's Moses before his passing is really warning the Jewish people to stay connected to Torah, stay connected to God, which is really what this time of the year is really all about, the time to reflect, the time to reconnect. Teshuvah means return to our essence, return to our core of who and what we are. So it's very interesting, the big opening words of this song, Ha'azinu, start off, Hazinu Hashamayim V'Dabera V'Sishma Ha'aretz Imrefi. And it's, give ear, O heaven, and I will speak. Listen, O earth, the words of my mouth. And the commentators all say that Moses was calling upon heaven and earth to be witness to what he's going to tell the Jewish people now. The question is, why did he call upon heaven and earth to be the witnesses? Well, obviously, we're talking about for all future generations. If he called a person, that person is here now and won't be here later. Moses was recognizing this is the end of his life. He won't be around. So he needed something that stands beyond the lifespan of a person, which earth, God's creation, but also heaven, which is eternal. And he calls on both of them. And another explanation that is given of why he calls upon heaven and earth is because the Torah, which is what this bond is really all about, was given from heaven, and it was given to man, which is on earth. So therefore he called celestial beings, the heavenly beings of heaven and also earth, to be witness. But the question can be even greater. If you're going to call upon a witness, why not just call upon God? God, the Torah is infinite. The Torah is beyond even the creations of heaven and earth. And why not go even higher? You're trying to inspire the people to raise themselves to a very high level, to a great spiritual, eternal connection. Why limit yourself with creations? Even heaven is a creation. The answer that's given is one of the explanations, and really to the point and brief, is there is spiritual and there's physical. Heaven symbolizes the spiritual worlds. Earth symbolizes the physical, some say the reality that we live ourselves in. And there's different types of connections that people have with God and with Torah. Sometimes people get very, very spiritual. They become really spiritually sensitive, have this unbelievable yearning to connect to God and to sort of remove themselves from all materialism. And that's in a sense what happens on Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur we dress in white. We become like angels. We don't eat. We don't drink. We let go of all our physical needs and we rise up and become very, very spiritual. Let me say, don't become too spiritual. Spiritual is important. But you know what's more important than spiritual? Is the physical, the life that we live in, here, down, and earth. And that's why Moses calls upon both. He wants them to be inspired by the spiritual, but he also wants to make sure that that connection manifests itself in the physical. And that is my question to myself, to you, to all of us. Yes, we're all getting inspired People want to be present at Kol Nidre, at Yisker. We become, Ne'ilah, all these great spiritual quests that we're looking for, Rosh Hashanah, to connect to God in all different ways. But the question is, can we bring that relationship down to change the way we are going to live physically in this world? Don't get stuck in the spiritual. We need to have heaven and earth in our relationship with God. Rosh Hashanah that we just celebrated doesn't celebrate the creation of heavens or earth. It actually celebrates the creation of man, who is able to make a difference in the world. So as we listen to the words of this week's Torah portion and we see the witnesses, let us realize, yes, we need to get spiritual in this season. We need to get inspired. We need to get back to the core, that everlasting relationship that regardless of what our pasts have been, we have this unbelievable relationship with God that can never be affected, that could come to the fore. We return to our essence. But then let's bring it down to earth. Similar to, when you celebrate anniversary and you're reminding yourself of when, the great intense love that you had when you stood under the chuppah. But it's not good enough to just leave it at that emotion. We have to bring it into action to those things in our day-to-day life to build that relationship and make a difference in our lives. So yes, as we stand this Shabbos Shuvah, this Shabbos Teshuvah, and as we prepare ourselves for Yom Kippur, yes, let us soar to the heaven. Let us reach and connect to the essence, that part of us, which is a part of God himself that was within us, and we should connect to that. And that's what Yom Kippur is all about. But let's make sure that 5781 this year will be a year that will actually be able to manifest it in our lives in a real physical way down here on earth where God wants us to be. And each and every one of us was by divine providence picked to be in a certain place, in a certain time, in a certain year. The things that happen to be in our life are handpicked by God for us to be able to make a difference of those aspects of life. So let us reach to the heavens, but let's bring it down to earth and make this year the best year ever, in that we'll be able to see with our own eyes that connection that we have with God in our day-to-day lives. And during this time, it's good to pick a mitzvah, to pick a resolution, something realistic, not something pie in the sky, but something that I always knew I really wanted to do anyways, something that I wanted to incorporate in my life. I just never had that oomph to make it happen. Let's make it happen. That's how we will bring God into our lives down here on earth the way God wanted it to be. And let us hope that quickly and speedily we should merit to see the manifestation of heaven, the manifestation of God in every aspect of this physical world, which will be with the coming of Mashiach, where we merit to see that quickly and speedily. Amen. Shabbat Shalom, and we look forward. I'm sure everybody has, all the locals have seen the various different options that we have for the upcoming Yom Kippur services with Kol Nidre, Yisker on the outside, all the other ones on the inside. If there's anything that we can be of help, please don't hesitate to reach out. And everybody have an easy fast, and may our prayers be answered, and may we all be inscribed and sealed for a year of goodness, a year of health, a year where it's only goodness revealed in our lives. Shabbat Shalom, and good Shabbos.